everyone, and happy Saturday! Oh my gosh, have I ever done an interview on Saturday? I don't think that I did. I am Ninja Guy X, and today we're having some very, very special guests, and all the way from Norwegian, from Norway, basically. And very exciting, guys. But before we start with that, I just want to say welcome to ITI, which is an abbreviation for Anytime Interview Edition. And what's the difference between other interviews about interviewing gamers is that I wear a tie. So as you can see today, I am wearing my black and white tie with many controllers. You can see a GameCube, Wii, Nintendo, very classic controllers over here. And the game that we're interviewing today is a mouse and keyboard and a controller type of game. You can use both, so it's awesome. And now, before we go to the developers, also, I would like to say hello to the chat. We got Granite in here. Was there a setback? Well, my friend, I know that you're very, very familiar with the game, and there is a lot of setbacks, so welcome. We've got Zarina. Good morning, Zarina. I hope you're doing well today on this Saturday morning or afternoon if you're in Norway, of course. Let's see the tie. Yes, we have the black and white tie. Love it. That is awesome. All right, guys. Without further ado, let me introduce you to the one and only Jordan, who is the community manager of Setback, and Havi, who is the lead developer of Setback. So the way I said that, the reason why I said that is because on their Discord, for some reason, all of the developers have a question mark at the end of their names. Yes. So it's very interesting. How are you doing, guys?
We are doing great. And just to chime in, the question mark, if you look at our logo for Riddlebit Software, in the R, there's kind of a hidden question mark. So that's where that comes from. Yeah.
There you go.
So we are doing great. Yeah.
It's a riddle.
Yeah, that's true. Oh my gosh, like the Riddler in Batman, right? I never thought of that. Man, we're already learning, and I haven't even started asking questions yet. So this is awesome. So yeah, hope you guys are doing well. Again, thank you very much for coming in on Saturday. I know you guys are busy. Right now, the game is live. We're gonna talk about that. When the game during the weekends when the game is live and all of that. But first of all, let's learn a little bit about you guys individually, specifically. So we'll start with Jordan. Can you introduce yourself for those who doesn't know you?
Sure. I'm Jordan. I am the marketing and community manager for our game here, Setback. I'm from Texas originally, but I'm here with the rest of the team in Norway. So the company and almost all the employees except for me and one other are Norwegian, so I'm the lone American here. But yeah, I'm loving it. It's a lot of fun and glad to be here.
Awesome. And could you tell us a little bit about yourself, just a little bit of history, from when did you start gaming up until how you got into working for video game companies?
Sure. Yeah. So lifelong gamer, and you'll probably hear that from, I think, everyone on our team. Played a lot of games growing up. I'm trying to think of specific genres, at least for the last few years. I think it's been a mixture between games that are like round-based, like Apex or League and stuff like that, because I'm so busy. Then mixed in when I have more time, I like to do like a deep dive into a single-player game, like The Witcher 3 or God of War. So I've always loved gaming, and actually before here, I was living in Japan, and I was doing my master's degree there, and I had always wanted to break into the gaming industry, but I was never super interested in the typical route in, which is usually either like development or art. But I was interested in the more business side of things. So I ended up getting kind of just a more standard marketing job at a tech company in Tokyo. And then this opportunity just came along. I saw this job posting in Norway. This team needed a marketer and a community manager, and I think they were also trying to diversify the team a bit, so hire from overseas. And yeah, so I jumped at the opportunity. I applied. I met some of the founders, got along great. I found the game, fell in love with the game and the company and what they're trying to do. And then I moved down here, and now I'm here. And so I think I've been here probably about 10 months or so. I think with the team, maybe 9-10 months.
Nice.
I don't know. Time's been going by fast.
How do you like it so far in Norway?
In Norway, it's awesome. I love it. It's the first time I arrived, the sun didn't go down. It's like 3-4 a.m. and the sun is still up, and that was really weird. I'd never live in a place where the sun doesn't go down. And then just recently we finished the opposite problem, where you go into work dark and you leave when it's dark.
Oh.
So that's been a lot of fun. But the country is very, very beautiful. So I've loved being in Norway. And then I've also just loved working here. It's a dream job for sure. It's a stressful one, but it's a stressful dream job.
Exactly. Eventually, you'll get in the routine, and maybe the stress won't be as much. I like how you said that you don't have a lot of time, but you play League of Legends, because that game definitely takes up a lot of your time.
Yes, yeah. If you keep, I feel like I've played it for years, so I have the base understanding that if I step away from a long time, I don't have to like relearn a crazy amount. Because it definitely would take a lot of time to enter. So yeah, I'll play like a match or two, then I'll hop off normally.
That's good. Yeah, it's hard to control the addiction. So yeah, I applaud you for that. So yeah, let's jump to Havi. How about yourself? Can you introduce you for those who don't know you?
Yeah. So I'm Havi. I'm one of the developers for this game, Setback. I'm Norwegian. I'm actually one of the founders of the company.
He is. He's an OG.
I'm not really. They actually started the company half a year before I joined.
Yeah, we're gonna pretend you're the OG.
Yeah. So yeah, but I was here in Trondheim, Norway, studying computer engineering, and we started the company towards the ends of the bachelor degree. So kind of worked on that at the same time doing the studies. So that's how the company started. A bit about myself. Of course, I'm a gamer. I love playing games. I've done that since we got a first. Actually, I think it started with the Game Boy. I had the
Oh my gosh!
Wow. Actually, I didn't get the Game Boy Color, but I had the Game Boy Advanced. I played Pokemon a lot. Played a lot on the Nintendo Switch. No, that's a new one.
Yeah, that is a new one.
Yes.
The Nintendo
Wii.
I had. Played a lot of Super Mario Galaxy.
Nice.
But then after that, I've mostly been playing first-person shooters. I played Battlefield. I played some Call of Duty, and recently I've been playing a lot of Hunt Showdown.
Good one.
And yeah,
that's good.
And I have the Switch as well, so play that Mario Kart, Breath of the Wild, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't play League of Legends though. Sorry.
Yeah,
it's not good enough.
That's what it is, right? I like the diversity though, like from Switch to first-person shooter. It's such a different type of genre, right? But I agree with Jordan. You're not giving enough credit to yourself. You are the a lead developer of the game, and you are. I think that it shows a lot, and I think that you're a very important part of the company. So
all the developers are important to the game. But I am the lead developer. But I kind of course I have that extra responsibility and everything. But I feel like we're 3 developers, or
3.5 if you count Marcus, who's part-time.
Yeah, I feel like we're just this group of developers, grinding on the game, trying not to make bugs.
Yeah.
But yeah,
trying.
That's interesting. So games like this, like Setback, where it's like multiplayer, free to play, and very, very multiplayer. I'm always wondering how many people are working on that, and these are really big projects to tackle on. So 3 developers is really impressive. Absolutely. Now about the the developing team. And now the rest of the questions, you guys will need to decide, who answered them, because it's just whoever likes answering them. It'll be like that. But I want to learn more about the development company. Riddlebit Software is the developer and the publisher behind Setback. So you guys are self-publishing your game. Can you tell us how the company got formed?
Definitely a Havi question.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we were a group of four. We're 5 founders from the beginning, but 4 of them actually started the company, and they started it when they were making this app. I think it was kind of like an arm wrestling game.
I didn't even know this.
No, I don't think they want to really talk about it. But yeah, that's how the company started, and that didn't really. I mean, they kind of abandoned that project, and then I came in the picture. I think it was Jonathan had this presentation with a lot of game ideas, and that's where Setback was one of the ideas. And I was like, I like that one. I think it was the only first-person shooter of the ideas he had.
Oh,
yeah. So I kind of took the responsibility to make a very simple prototype, and then we applied for this Norwegian competition, for students. It's called Norwegian Game Awards, but it's only for students.
Oh.
And yeah, we joined that, and we won couple prizes there, like for best concept, and then it just took off from there.
That's cool. That's kind of like a game jam, but specifically for student in Norwegian. I like that.
Yeah,
these are the type of things that's gonna that encourage people to start their own company and start their games, because they realize that actually people like these concepts and they can actually be something that can work. So that's awesome. Other than the arm wrestle game, which intrigued me, because I've actually trained for some arm wrestling locally, which it's pretty fun. Has there been other projects that Riddlebit has done, to help the funding or little things here and there?
So we have not done any projects ourselves other than Setback, but we did have. It was me and Oliver. We did work as consultants for this other dev company. They did that was for web development.
Studio Gauntlet?
No, it was they're called Folk Invest. It's like kind of, you can kind of compare them to Kickstarter, but it's like a place where you can buy stocks in a company, in startups, and to help them, to fund them basically. But yeah, so we worked there for like half a year or something to basically to get money for the company, so we didn't go bankrupt.
Yeah. I will add on to that and say that Setback is our first project in terms of a full-blown game, and that's the only one, of course, that we're working on. But one of the cool things, I guess, the flip side of being an indie company and being in a country that has a smaller game development landscape, is we all help each other a lot. So, for example, I know that we made the website for the Studio Gauntlet studio I just mentioned, and then they've made art for us because we didn't have any 2D artists, and so there's a lot of kind of supporting the different game studios and trying to fill in gaps and use the skills that one company is missing for the other. So there's been a lot of those really, really small things. And then also because for an indie game company, we're a bit on the larger end from the ones I hear about, because we're 12 people. I mean, it kind of depends on what you call an indie game company, because I met one, we had a networking event a couple weeks ago, and I met a studio that was 100 people. But technically, that's still indie compared to Riot Games, right? So it kind of depends on where you draw the line. But the average indie company I've met is half our size. So they're a team of 6 or less. So the team of 12, we often will take the mantle and kind of hold these events that happen. When we had the Global Game Jam for our city, we kind of sponsored that and invited people to come here and use our office to do that. And and we have more stuff planned for that kind of thing as well.
That's cool. And actually, everything that I've wrote, like all my advertisement, I never mentioned the word indie because that's the thing. I didn't know if you guys were considered an indie game or not, right? Because you do have a budget, you do work on. So I'm exactly like you, Jordan. Like I just don't know in what size you are, but I still
we don't know either, so it's
okay. we'll ask like someone else. Yeah. So you guys talked a little bit about the team. So you guys are 3 developers. You have the community manager Jordan, and then Jordan, you mentioned that there's also someone that you work in the team as a community manager. Can you guys talk a little bit about the whole team? Who's involved in the in Riddlebit software?
Yeah. So Havi, I'll let you take the devs, and I'll mention everyone that's not the devs. So one significant, Havi kind of mentioned the first big kind of boost to Setback becoming a reality, which was them winning the NGA competition. That, from my understanding, was the first kind of like, maybe this can be something. And the next thing was definitely getting their first like really big round of funding. Then that was responsible from them growing the team from 8 to 12. And at that point is when me and Lyubov came on board, and also I think Vagar, who's an artist, and I want to say Marcus as well at the same time, who's a dev. So we have 4 artists, I want to say in total. One of them is a character artist, one of them is a level designer, and then the other 2, I don't fully understand specifically what their job is. One's kind of the art lead, and the other one I think works on environment stuff kind of as well. Then you have me and Lyubov, who kind of marketing and community management have a lot of, that's a big umbrella that covers a lot of things, and most companies would have, whole sections for those things. So between the 2 of us, we try to cover everything under that, from streaming to making content to tracking the data, all that kind of stuff. Then you have the devs, and and we have Lars, the business guy, whose job it is to, we call him the money guy and father, because he takes care of making sure we get money and also making sure we have all the rules and obeying laws and stuff like that.
That would be considered a producer, right? Or is that
no? So he's our CEO. We do have a producer who's also doubles as a dev, but he focuses only on like the game and the timing of things when they need to get done and stuff like that. Whereas Lars is like taking care of accounting and are we following the right laws and that kind of thing. And Havi, if you want to mention the rest of the devs.
Yes, we have the producer is also basically a dev, but when he has time for it. And he's also doing a doctorate in AI.
He's doing a PhD at the same time, which is insane.
And then we have Nikolai. He actually his first introduction to the company actually did so we had a couple of people doing like a bachelor thesis with us, and some masters as well, but so he was one of them doing this, and I think they did some AI stuff if I recall correctly. But yeah, he is one of, like, he joined the company part-time and now he is full-time. So he has mostly been doing like all the back-end server stuff, very important stuff, you know, but now he's moving more to do like gameplay and stuff like that. And we have Marcus. He is working on his master's, delivering this May.
And also AI stuff.
Yeah, he is also like I think he is mostly responsible for the bots we have in game now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's also doing gameplay stuff. Like the new item we got in this playtest, he mostly did the technical stuff there. But he is part-time.
Wow.
And then we have Oliver as well. He's like a tech artist, but he's also like he did the same computer engineering degree, so he does dev stuff, like he
does most of the visual effects, I feel like.
Any prototypes, implementations of items and etc. So yeah.
So in total 12 of us.
And you guys wear multiple hats, as I can see, so that's good, very talented, which is, that's awesome. All right, so we've learned about the team, we've learned, about you guys and how the company works. Now let's talk about Setback. So Setback is a free-to-play first-person shooter multiplayer where you get thrown in an arena and battle against opponent. But there's a catch. You can't get killed in the game, which is very interesting, and that's the first thing that got me when I read the description on Lurkit. Instead of being killed, you get setbacked. So can you guys talk a little bit about what this means and more about what the game is about?
Yeah, Havi, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that one. So basically, like the concept of the game is that in universe, this is like a big worldwide sport. It's also called Setback. Like the sport is called Setback. And you have like people competing all over the world in different stadiums and whatnot. And so we have this mechanic where instead of dying, you get set back in time. It's kind of like that one is kind of hard because you're not really altering time, but that's the lore stuff. But yeah, so it's basically like this big sport in the future, where people compete. Like,
we're learning about the lore here. I had no idea this was from the future. I didn't know if it was from like an alternate universe or.
It's the future.
I don't think I'm the best guy to talk about lore, but it's definitely in the future.
One thing to note is if you look in the footage now, right, the map, like this one has it, but the map that has kind of the more Asian inspirations, it's missing it now. But you'll notice in the other maps, most of them have like a stadium around where there are people seating. And the goal is every map is going to have that. No matter how big the map is, it'll be an arena that an audience is watching. So it's really easy to miss now. Like it's missing here too. It's easy to miss now, so you wouldn't think it. But when the game is released, we definitely want you to feel that. Like it's a sport. There's people watching. They're cheering. There'll probably be some like intro cutscene, where your person enters waving or something along those lines. And the lore is still being fleshed out, but that's kind of the idea, and that it provides the background for like why you're not dying when you get shot, because you're getting sent back in time, and all these different items are playing around with gravity and space and time, and it's a lot of like made up pseudoscience that we're using to justify the different stuff. But yeah, so Havi touched on the main thing, which is that you instead of dying, you get sent back in time. The two other really unique things from our game versus other FPS games is that we call it parkour gunplay. It actually just came up on the screen there, which is where right now it's mostly limited to, you see that punching I was doing there, to kind of, you can wall bounce and stuff like that around the map. Some characters who are very skilled can do that at an insanely high level that we can't do, even though we make the game. But we're working on now, and we'll have a lot more kind of movement-based mechanics, from wall running to other stuff like that. Then the last thing that's pretty unique is kind of similar from Mario Kart. When you drive over an item, you can pick it up and then use that. We have items placed throughout all the maps, and if you run over it, you can grab it and you can use it. Some of them are very normal concepts, like a smoke bomb or a grenade, and others, like the one you see now, that is a orbital strike, which is just a giant laser that comes down from space. Then we have gravity wells and gravity rifts, and that's like a time field that slows down all the kind of stuff. So we have to have a lot of fun there. Yeah,
I hate it when Jordan used that on me. He used it all the time.
One of my favorites, but I often get trapped in it, unfortunately, even though I threw it.
Exactly. So, we already talked about how the main idea came up, right? Like one of the developer had a few ideas, and this is the one that stood out. What are the kind of ideas that was in the table before the game came out?
That's a good question.
If you're allowed to talk about it, of course.
Yeah. I mean, so can you
so
like the idea?
So Havi, you mentioned that before making the decision of building Setback, one of the developer had a few ideas right on the table and this was the only first-person shooter you said that was
well,
yeah.
I don't really remember the other ideas.
Okay. No worries.
Years ago, finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just that he had his presentation with a lot of different ideas, and this was the one at least catching my attention. So
I mean, for you to forget every other ideas, I mean, this has to be like the best one, right? So that's
I can tell you that that was way before my time here, but I can tell you of like there is a talk around the office of like, you know, the dream next game we'd be able to make, right? If Setback took off and we expanded. And this is just idea phase. It is not at all a commitment of that we would make this, not even a little bit. But one game I've heard talked about a lot just at lunch and stuff that the team would like to make is a kind of like horror troll Norse mythology based game, which is so wildly different from Setbacks. I don't know how they landed on that, but that's been discussed a lot as like a dream next project that the team would love to kind of make.
Yes, this might have been one of the ideas there from the start, but yeah, you're right. We really want to make this game, but this is like we need a big budget to really make this game.
Fingers crossed.
We're Norwegian, so it makes sense to make like a
troll thing. Yeah,
that's true.
Horror game.
Yeah, so that, you know, that's what I wish for you guys. I just wish for the game to do very well, have a bigger budget, and then you can make the exact game that you're looking for. So this is how great companies start, right? They just do a game, and then if it picks up, then they can do the dream game. So fingers crossed for sure. So the game is currently in play testing phase and not available to the public. Is there still room for new people to join the playtest, and how can someone make a request?
Yeah, so right now we are what's the official stage of what we're in? Havi, would you call it?
Oh, yeah, we're not
alpha, or
we're in alpha, so we wouldn't even call it early access yet. But yeah.
So yeah, we're in alpha, which just means we are actively developing the game now. But to do that and to do a better job at that, we do hold playtests, and we hold them about every other weekend, with some exceptions for special events that we do as well. And in those, we're trying to find bugs, trying to see how players like it. You know, if there's certain mechanics that are missing, we should add. Getting feedback from the players that have really good ideas for items and game modes and stuff like that. So those are a huge help. So yeah, we do have playtests. And to answer your question, you just hop over to Steam. Wishlist Setback, please, is very helpful. And then after that, you just request access to the playtest, and I check it almost every day. And as soon as I notice anyone waiting, then I let them in. At the moment, we're not trying to restrict the playtest at all. I don't think that's ever the plan. It might happen if we had the problem of success and our servers got flooded, then that might happen. But you know, that's a good problem to have, and we're not there yet, but we hope to be. So yeah, anyone is welcome to join, and we love to hear your thoughts on the game, so we can build it for everyone's kind of dream game, right?
So that's good. And so you hear it, guys. So there's no credentials. You can just make the request. Jordan will have a look. If you don't get accepted, just let me know, and I'll talk privately to Jordan, and I'll make you in. I'll put you in. But the link to the Steam page is in the description of my video. So if you want to have a look at the game, definitely just go in there, wishlist the game, press the request, and you'll definitely get access. It's a really low demanding game. I play on a GTX 1050 Ti, and it's running flawlessly. Actually, it wasn't running flawlessly at first, but they did some improvement, and now it's really good. So they definitely listen to feedback and all of that. So for sure, if you're into first-person shooter with a lot of strategy, that's definitely a game for you. Now, you said you don't even know which phase the game is, but it's currently playtesting. So do you have do you know when the playtesting will end, or do you have an idea or that you can share it with us? And when it ends, would we see the early access as the next phase?
So we get asked this question a lot. And the truthful answer is that it depends, right? We'd love to be able to give a release date. I can tell you that it's not that far out. It's nothing crazy. It's not like 3 years or 2 years. It's much shorter than that. That we want the game to come out. It's not that far away from being released. But it depends heavily on, for example, if we got a huge amount of investment, we're able to grow the team by twice our size and release a much better game by delaying it 6 more months because we have a bigger team, we would definitely do that. So for now, we've kind of avoided trying to say like exactly when it's going to come out because it depends on so many factors. But I think the rough plan is to probably release in early access first. And so that gives us a time to kind of, that could change, but that's the current plan that I hear the most. And that most games do that because, it gives you a good excuse to have bugs and stuff. And that's because you're releasing it knowing that you're going to find bugs and stuff like that. And you're giving the players a chance to find everything wrong with the game that you're not able to find yourself. And they absolutely will. They do it every single time. And it gives you a chance to, test certain things and make on the fly improvements. So most likely that will happen when we do release, not too far from now. It probably will be in early access. Then I don't think we definitely want to avoid that's like PUBG, like 5 years of early access before we release the game, So we'll have it for a acceptable amount of time, then we'll release the full game.
The plan is basically to go in early access when the game is basically feature complete. So early access would just be this phase of tweaking, fixing a lot of issues,
balancing.
So that's the plan. And well, regarding playtesting, we don't really. I think we probably will continue the playtesting until early access. We might alter the schedule, but I don't see any reason for stopping the playtesting because it's very important to get players in to test the game and see if stuff works and get feedback and
Yeah.
And a very important aspect too, I think you said it, but it will be free to play upon release. So,
okay.
And it is free to play now too.
Yeah, perfect.
It's good to know. Yeah, I was assuming so, but I guess it's good that you're confirming that because we won't surprise anyone. So you've mentioned that you're going to keep giving access to them, meaning like, and the reason you're saying that is because the playtest is only happening every 2 weekends. So every 2 weekends they release a new update with new things, and then the players are allowed to play this game for the whole weekend up until Monday when someone wakes up and click a button to stop the playtest. Right? That's right, how Jordan explains it. So
it is on a tighter schedule now from Norway time. It's like Friday 6 p.m. to Monday at 8 a.m. So we set it up to be automatic now, but in the beginning it was just a guy rolling out of bed being like, all right, it's closed.
That's funny. So it used to be actually every weekend, so that changed recently.
Yes.
And how was the decision made to only keep it open every 2 weeks instead of being open all the time, for example?
So I can take that one little behind the scenes for you there. That was essentially basically the result of looking at some data. So we noticed on the marketing end that this happened. We had that up until the Christmas playtest. And for that event, we did a very ambitious, we had the playtest open for I think it was 2 full weeks. And we had a bunch of streamers playing the game and trying to get a few more eyes and garner wishes and stuff like that. Because we kind of have a catch-22 situation where, the game is not in any form complete. So while it is fun, it's especially fun to play with friends and stuff, there's a lot of features missing, right? And there's a lot of retention and progression and stuff like that missing. And so on one hand, we focused on playtesting and finding the bugs and stuff, but we also want as many people to play our unfinished game because more wishes and stuff like that, helps upon the actual release of the game as well. So that's why we tried to do some longer events. But then what we saw was that we had made 2 changes this time. One, we had removed any restrictions to participating in the playtest. It was an automatic acceptance. And then, so we had that, and we had a bunch of different playtests, and what we had found was that for some reason we got like a lot of playtest requests, like meaning people had signed up and automatically been accepted and played the playtests. But the proportion of that to wish list had gone down. And so that was the result of probably by not restricting it, maybe you assume the game is released, so you don't wish list. There's no way to know for sure. So after that, we made the decision to scale down on the length of the events, to restrict the playtest, at least artificially. Again, we still let everyone in, but to have like an artificial barrier there, because that seems to remind people to wish list is really important for us. And then Havi had also brought up a good point. By having it every 2 weeks instead of every 1 week, it does give the dev team a bit more time to have some more exciting updates in between each playtest, because by doing it every weekend, sometimes there'd be almost no change depending on what we were focusing on for that week, at least none that the player would notice. Whereas with every 2 weeks, there usually is at least something to come back and check out, a tweak to an item, movement being a bit different, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I also want to add to that quickly, deploying playtest every week. Like it takes some time out of at least Friday and Thursday, because you have to like deploy stuff, make sure everything is good, like some extra testing, and that also takes away precious dev time for other features, bug fixing, and So, yeah.
As a as a playtester, I can definitely see that the changes are a lot more significant than when you were doing like a weekly thing. And I've got to say, since I started the game back, I think it was in November, there's been like it's so much better than how it was back then. Like there's been so many improvements. At first I was like, it almost felt like a prototype. But now that it's been fleshed out a little bit more, I feel like it's actually a game, and I don't have any doubt into what the vision you guys have. So it's amazing the amount of changes that has happened in the last 4 months, and I'm looking forward to see even more change soon. So.
I'm glad to hear that, because we have some really big changes coming up that will make Setback very different from what you think now. Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, this segues to pretty much my next question.
Perfect.
So, it gets updated every time it goes live. So since you guys started the playtest, what kind of big changes have you guys made in the game that are like significant enough to talk about? And what kind of changes has been made for this weekend specifically?
Okay, since what's the starting point? Since when?
Since the play testing has started.
So since it started. When did you guys start, Havi? Was it early 2021? I think late 2021.
Oh,
so
wow.
The thing is, we had like, this probably never came up, but the game is made in Unreal Engine. But the first prototype we used Unity.
Yeah.
So we worked on the game for some time in Unity, and we had playtesting back then, and but yeah, at some point we transitioned over to using Unreal, and basically no one had used Unreal before, so we had to learn everything. Or not everything, we just had to like learn Unreal from scratch. So we had then throughout that time we have had like a couple of periods with playtesting, and we had some like a couple of months at least without any playtesting. But I would say for this question, we should probably say, I think the playtesting we started
probably from summer. I think like August of last year was the real beginning of active playtests.
Okay. Yeah, but like the weekly playtesting we started after Spill Expo, right?
Yeah, the every weekend. That's right. That was after Spill Expo. Yeah, and so what had happened was during summer, from last summer, around August, when I had first joined, we were doing it about once a month.
Okay.
Then after, it was either Next Fest or Spill Expo, one or the other. Spill Expo, if you don't know, is Norway's biggest gaming convention.
Okay.
So those two events were kind of a huge boost for us, and the idea was, we want to keep this momentum, so we should have play tests more often, right? So then we shifted the schedule to there. So yeah, I'll answer that question from around that time frame.
Okay.
And since then, a lot has changed. So we've gotten some new maps. In some special cases like Halloween, we put in a Halloween exclusive map in game mode, and then we took it out after that event just to experiment with stuff and learn some stuff. So the biggest change is some new maps, new game modes. So Payload was probably the most significant newest one. Bomb Tag has stayed. We made some tweaks to Safe Zone, but right now we have it out. It's just Bomb Tag and Payload, but we have some more game modes that we've already talked about that are coming in soon. Items, the last month or two has seen a huge boost in the amount of items that we put in the game. I think that's mostly at game modes, items, stuff like that. Some of the maps have been retouched on the art side and that kind of thing. Then for this weekend specifically, what we had is some balance changes to the items, which is kind of exciting. So I think this is one of our few times that we've kind of done like a balancing update. That because there were some items that felt a little bit weak and we wanted to make stronger and vice versa. So we made certain items destroyable that weren't before. We put like a lasting burn effect on the Multi-Time Cocktail. The orbital strike, that big laser from the sky, went from like 5 seconds to 3 or something. It's much shorter now before it comes down. 3 seconds now. So we had that. Havi added in a ping system. Which cool, yeah. We need to talk about Havi because of course players immediately started spamming the crap out of it. I did too. I know. I did too. One of the players found it and pinged, and I was like, I forgot we added a ping system because of all the other changes. So I forgot we didn't mention it in any of the announcements. So secret thing just for the Ninja audience, there is pings in the game now that no one else knows about. You can ping away.
You heard it here first, guys.
Yeah. Right.
Exclusive. That's awesome. No, for sure. That's awesome. The big item, the big wave thing. I've noticed it, and I don't know how to use it yet. So I need to practice it, or I need a tutorial about it because I really don't know how it works with a controller. Especially, I don't know how to activate it. But these are pretty cool item, and looking forward to give them a try again. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
So are you able to tease us what kind of updates we'll be seeing in the future, in the near future, or not? If you can.
Let's see. So I'll start this, Havi, then you can add on, okay? Because I'm gonna start high level, then as a dev, you can maybe give whatever more specifics you think are worth noting. So what I can tell you is we started off this year with a round of workshops, essentially finalizing what we want Setback to look like upon its release. And the kind of major categories that centered around is, what game modes do we want? What do we want the maps to be like? What do we want the state of items to be like? And movement and weapons. So we had a big hours-long workshop on all of those where we talked amongst ourselves with different ideas, looked at some of the player feedback, stuff like that. We landed on a lot, and that's what I meant by there's some big updates. Some of I'll tease two things that the team seems pretty agreed on that we all want. That we haven't really announced much else. So another exclusive for you. And we, to be fair, we also haven't announced it because it's not that fleshed out yet. And we don't want to, say one thing and then by the end it's totally different. But we have talked about, there's a lot more movement stuff we want to add to the game. And we specifically are toying around with different ideas of like movement abilities in a way. So these would be things like dashes or wall running, those kind of things. And then the other big thing that we've discussed is weapon loadouts of some sort. And that one was always known. Right now you can cycle between I think it's 6 different weapons, Havi. I'm not sure the exact amount.
5 weapons, but basically every weapon in the game.
Yeah, so every weapon we have you can cycle between, which no other game does for a reason. So obviously we don't want that upon release. So we do have different versions of weapon loadouts that will match and mesh well with that player movement ability kind of loadout thing. And we've been walking a fine line between borrowing certain elements that make hero shooters fun, and tying that into games like Counter-Strike and stuff where you don't have heroes because we don't want to end up being a hero shooter, but there are elements and stuff and abilities and everything from there that we can borrow from that are quite fun, right?
Nice.
So yeah, those are the ones I have. Javi, you can add on with anything else.
So yeah, of course, more game modes are coming. We on like the playtesting we're doing now. We only have the 2 bomb tag and payload modes, but we're definitely adding more modes. And this has also been a very recent workshop. So yeah, definitely more fun game modes are coming. More items, more performance improvements, and there's still some like a lot of core systems that's not really stable, so we're working on, and also new features like the weapon system. But also one kind of major thing is the character. So the character we have right now, if you go in game, you can see it looks very uncanny.
Sloth arms.
Some
like
animations
this.
are very
messed up.
And this is because we have basically we're still using an old skeleton, and we're using something called retargeting to another skeleton, but we're now working on a new, like a completely new character rig, and it will make stuff easier for us, and it will also make it look, hopefully, I mean, it would definitely look better.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the last thing too, this one is probably well known too, but we definitely want some form of like ranked and competitive play, you know, when we release as well. And so we'll continue to do. We've been upping, I think, the quality over time of our tournaments and dabbing our toes into different esports stuff. It's hard to do because, you know, our game has bugs and it's broken, so you can't hold a very fair tournament with a big reward when, like, in that situation. But we have seen that people really enjoy them, and they tend to be a lot of fun. So we're leaning more and more into that side as well, which is a lot of fun.
I like it, Jordan, because every time you talk about something, it segues into the questions that I have next. So, speaking of tournaments, you know,
I swear I have no script. Everyone watching,
exactly. Yeah, I don't see you here on my page. So he's right. So, you know, tournaments are happening once in a while. Can you talk about how they work and what kind of rewards the winners get?
Yeah, so I can take that one as well, because typically those are born from me and my marketing and community manager. Will brainstorm how to do those. So they started off as a very simple kind of forcing the state of Setback to work for us. You know, there was no system for tournaments or anything like that. We just literally played Setback. And because you can play with up to 8 people, we would try to get a full squad of 8. And then we would basically just keep track manually by writing it down on like a sheets.
Oh my gosh.
How each person placed each round, right? Then we would manually update like a Google slide and basically show that on stream, right? And it was very fun. It still worked. It's very engaging, but as you probably can tell, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of manual work. You know, we had to kind of pause the stream and try to keep people entertained while we updated the scores and stuff. So we did that probably 3 or 4 times total, I think. Then eventually we had around Christmas, the next thing we had done was a in-person tournament. We did our first physical tournament, which was both a mixed success, I'd say. You know, the turnout was not as high as we wanted, but everyone that was there had a lot of fun. I think there was Havi, like 12 people? I don't remember anymore. 15?
Tournament?
Yeah, the physical one? 10?
15, I think,
15?
in the tournament.
Okay, somewhere around there. But it ended up being a blessing in disguise because a lot of stuff broke because it was our first time doing that. And if it had been like 30 or 40 people, it would have been a much bigger deal than it was with that small group. So the people had a lot of fun, and they were all very understanding, of course, and it was really cool. It was a fun event, and we learned a lot about how to do that better next time. Then the way we run tournaments now, which is currently the way we're going to keep doing them, because it's has a lot of pros. Right now, we got the inspiration from how Fortnite does it, and if you don't know how Fortnite does their tournaments, essentially they hold them all the time, like every weekend, 3 or 4 at the same time, and you sign up in the main like menu. You just literally like click a button, then you just play the game, and your score is tracked on like kills you get and the place you match, stuff like that. And then the top 3 teams or players get some reward, and sometimes it's money, sometimes it's skins. So there's no friction. It's really easy sign up. You just play. So we took the inspiration there, and then we worked with the devs to get our own Setback version of that, where you can go in the main menu. There's a tournament thing. You just click a little button. And then what that does is we'll say, okay, from 5 to 7, any setback games you play, if you've signed up for a tournament, are going to count towards your score. And so far, we've calculated it 2 different ways. The first time we tried using an ELO rating, like most games do, like in League and stuff like that, where you gain or lose a certain amount depending on how skilled the person you won or lost against was. And the second time, we had done it just based off your average match placement. And what we kind of found was with a smaller player base, that second version works better. Because an ELO rating system, for that to work well, you need a larger player base. Because if you're just playing the same people over and over again, it doesn't really work that well. And that's been a lot better because it means I don't have to manually update scores and stuff like that. It's automatically tracked in the back end. And anyone can sign up. Before I had to talk to people in DMs. Hey, you're free at 5, right? Okay, you're not canceling. You're going to be there. Okay, cool. You're free at 6. Okay, cool. That was a lot of work to get 8, adults or whatever, all at the same time to play in this tournament. Whereas this one, anyone can play and sign up, play some games, hop off when they want, and they'll still be scored. So that's how we've been doing it now, and it's been great.
Yeah, for sure. And there's still some challenges with that because I noticed that there was some people playing that could have been high in the rank, but they kind of I don't know if they forgot, right, to put to sign up for it or things like that. So there's still little challenges, but I really
tried
enjoyed
to make it as easy as possible. And I see Granite in the chat saying it was almost too easy to sign up.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know if that's bad or good, but
I mean, you don't lose anything, right?
Yeah. It is a challenge making sure that people know, yes, you do need to sign up for it to work, of course.
Yeah. Well, I did enjoy it because I played 1 hour and I got 4th place. So definitely keep that score. I love it. So we're kind of past the hour, but Granite has some really cool questions here. So I was wondering if I can keep you guys for give me 10, 15 more minutes. Or
yeah, sure.
Is that good?
Sure.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So Granite, I did not forget about you. You got some really good questions here. And first question he has is lore question. When the characters is Setback, did they remember dying or does everything change around them for their perspective and they realize they've been set back?
It's traumatic.
Okay, so
that's a good question.
I don't know all the lore on this, but basically you remember everything. And you also kind of experience the setback, I think.
Okay. So it's kind of like what we see, right? When we're playing. Okay.
So it's basically the same thing as you experience when playing the game, I would say, but it's probably more traumatic, in the universe.
But I don't know. Maybe. From my understanding too, though, and notice we're saying from my understanding because none of us have fully fleshed out the lore yet. It's something that keeps getting pushed back in terms of working on the game first. But from my understanding, though, you don't they do remember all of it, but they wouldn't remember dying because at no point do they die. The idea is essentially that you can think of it more as this is not literally the case, but more of you have an armor that's broken almost, and when that's broken, you're set back in time kind of thing. They have time piercing. That's why it's a sport, right? So the sport is not watching a bunch of people die. That would not be very child friendly. There's no blood in the game for that reason and things like that. So they wouldn't remember dying. It might be more they remember getting punched hard in the chest, and then suddenly they're set back in time, right? That kind of thing.
Kind of reminds me of laser tags, right? They have the laser tag suit and it just brings you back in time, but not
a lot more
hurt,
like that.
Right?
So in laser tag, if you got shot, went back in time, but you don't have to remember a traumatic death. No, I think all of our competitors would go crazy if that was the case.
Yeah, and if the ratings is watching this, they want to make sure they got their notes. Say, oh yeah, blood. Yeah, let's put it M for mature, right? So, yeah,
no death.
All right. So next question is, and it's actually kind of feedback. He says, "Can I look forward to an assault rifle scope?"
Absolutely. One of the things we had, yes and no, sorry. What I mean by that is one of the things with weapons we do have planned that we've always wanted is secondary fire, basically options or abilities, depending on how you want to word it. For some of those things, that would be a scope. So for example, the rifle, it's been a long planned thing that would have a scope. But most of the guns, similar to Valorant and Counter-Strike and tactical shooters, will not have a scope. The large majority will not. But some of them will have an option, where it makes sense. Of course, the shotgun will not have a scope. It just doesn't make sense for our game. but the rifle and maybe one or two others might, or probably will have that as an option that you can choose.
Yeah, so there's no plan to have this kind of weapon customization system that you have in Call of Duty and Battlefield, where you can like do a lot of stuff with your weapon. But yeah, like Jordan said, we can, when doing this secondary ability system, we can basically do whatever we want, but we want to keep it simple at the same time. So yeah, having a scope with the aim down sight ability, yeah, we might do that.
I think the closest example is like Overwatch, kind of. You can't choose how their weapons are, but certain characters like Ashe, she has an ability where you can aim down it. Then other characters, their secondary fire does not aim down the scope, right? It does something else. So I think that's kind of the closest example of what we're trying to do as well.
I'm thinking of Halo also, right? Like Halo has like the scope for the assault rifle, and then don't really aim other than that. So that's awesome. Now, more of a question about the model. So Gren is asking, as a free-to-play game, what is the monetization model? If you're allowed to talk about it, of course.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we can't get into the details, but I mean, it's very similar to how every other free-to-play game works. In my opinion, I think free-to-play games are one of the best things that happen to the like gaming industry, and I mean that as a player. And the reason I'm saying that is because for a free-to-play game to make money, like we need to live and eat, we are incentivized to make the best game possible for players. Otherwise, players will not be willing to spend their money on it because they don't have to, right? If it's a subpar game, if it's just average, then you're not going to spend money on it. But when you love that game, you don't mind spending on it. And sometimes even more extreme, when you really love that game, you're like, you really want to, because you want to support them. So like that is the mindset we have going into it for first and foremost. We want it to be, feel fair and never predatory. Certainly don't want to do, none of us, we all hate any aspect of paid to win. So there will be zero of that in the game. But outside of that, it'll be the normal stuff. We'll have a battle pass of sorts, those kind of things, skins you can unlock. So the idea is that if you spend money, it should be enhancing your experience, right? It should lead to you customizing your character in the way you want, or you get to go through this battle pass that doesn't add something that's a crucial element to the game, but it adds, more fun stuff kind of thing.
I love battle pass. Good. I'm happy that you guys are gonna put that in. That's gonna be awesome for sure. But it's good to know. It's good to know that it's only going to be aesthetics and other things. So I like that for sure.
Yeah.
I think last question from Granite. He's asking, would you consider single player deathmatch modes? Actually, I kind of can't answer that, right? Because you can play with bots at the moment. But I'll let you guys talk about that for sure.
Javi, do you want to take a stab at that one first?
So I don't know exactly, when you say single player deathmatch, I think of deathmatch as multiplayer. So I don't really know if that would mean. But so single player is something, it has been talked about before, but we're probably not doing anything other than like some training map or something like that. But for the deathmatch game mode,
okay,
that's actually good to know. We have like a deathmatch, like a variant. We call it Setmatch, and it's being worked on right now, actually. So that might be something we play test in the short future.
Wow, we'll have to keep that in mind and see what's happening with that. So also, I'm sure the more money we spend on the game, the more modes we're gonna get, the more maps and all of that. So
absolutely,
we got to keep that in mind, and it keeps it encourages you guys to continue making the game better. So I love it. The last question I'm gonna have here is I have to ask that one before we end it. So my friend Gladiator, I don't know if you remember Gladiator, Jordan, but
I do. I've seen him a lot. Almost every time I've seen you in the game, I've seen him as well.
There you go. So he asked me to give you this message. He says, would you please tell Jordan to stop setting me back? So what do you say about that, Jordan?
I have a 2-word reply for him that is the bane of every gamer, and that is get good. But then I will not set him back anymore.
Oh man!
No, I every time I've seen one of you, I feel like I've seen the other every single time. So it's been a lot of fun seeing you both at the same time.
Yeah, Gladiator is basically my go-to guy for sure. We, Setback is so much more fun when you have some friends playing with you, right? Because you don't if there's nobody playing, you only get bots. But when I got some friends, it's always fresh and there's always something fun and exciting about it. I remember the first, I think the third time we played, we met you, Jordan, and I think you brought like maybe one or two other person, and that was the most fun time that we had since we started. Just because the more real players you get to play with, it's just so much more strategic, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So to reply to that, and a little bit of what Granite is clarifying of his question there. So it sounds like he's asking about like a single player mode that may not be a campaign. It reminds me a lot of and this isn't on the table right now, but like I would certainly push to get this if we had the time in the game. There was a game back in the day. It was some Ghost Recon game, and I remember it had this like a game mode kind of you could play that was, you could either play it co-op or by yourself. Basically, you just spawn into a map and you could select the number of enemies and how difficult they were. And I remember spending hours playing either by myself or with a friend, but often by myself. And I'd spawn into like my favorite map. I'd put like 60 enemies, but it was like a really big map, and put them very hard. And it was like a fun challenge to see if I could make it through and kill all of them. And that is really fun. And I could totally see us having something like that in Setback one day. There's one giant gate to that, and that is having very good AI. Right. And in that game, when I played that, the AI was very good. It was entertaining. It was fun. If the AI is not good, then the exact opposite happens. It's not fun. So it kind of just really depends on how far we're able to get our AI and how good we're able to make them. I can tell you that's constantly being worked on. The guy, Marcus, that's almost like the main thing that he does. And that's a really good state of our game, is that of course, we want as much players in the game as possible. We always want to be playing with other people because that's definitely the funnest. But if we can get the AI to a state that the game is almost equally as fun, whether you're against lots of players, and that is a dream place to be. So that definitely is a goal to aim for. I doubt we'll be there like at the point of early access, but if we kind of are riding and comfortable and we have time to focus on it, then we for sure want to have that as well.
So I just want to add, I don't know if you played the Halloween Horde mode.
I think that's one that I missed.
Ninja.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Okay, so these were basically, I mean, it was still
it's a good example.
Overall, like survival, last man standing, but we had like a lot of zombie robots spawning in the map, attacking you and eliminating you. But we have talked about doing
that's a fun one.
Co-op modes where all the players need to cooperate together, and maybe have something like the zombies in Call of Duty or something similar, but of course making it like compatible with the setback mechanic and everything. So yeah,
I like that. And that reminds me the most of Rainbow Six Siege, because that game once in a while they would just put like an event with a game mode, but you'll only see it like for a weekend or something like that, right? And it just makes it so fresh, because you would just see that mode and then you never see it again unless they request it, and then they sometimes they put it permanently. Sometimes they release another game like Rainbow Six Extraction, which is like one of the modes that they had. And so I really like that idea. You can get some feedback out of that and flesh out some more ideas. So that's awesome. Yeah. So guys, thank you again so much for coming in. That was awesome. From what I understand, Jordan, you have another kind of interview coming up later on, right?
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So both Ninja and Gladiator and the guy that I'll be interviewing with tomorrow, Flats, they are all part of what we call like the Setback Partner Program, which is essentially we try to give them free skins and codes and fun stuff like that to help them grow their stream and get more people to play Setback, and hopefully grow their stream, and vice versa, like help us grow too. And so another person in that same program is going to be interviewing me tomorrow. I think his name is just straight up Flats, Flatz. If you're in our Discord, you can find him. He's a lot of fun. He's from the US, and it's going to be less of an interview style for that one, and more we're just going to play for about an hour. followed by a Q&A session. So if you want to join for that, that'll be cool as well.
It's cool. And Havi, do you have anything that you'd like to promote on your end before we end?
I don't really have anything to promote. Just one quick thing I saw. I think I saw a comment about the bomb tag teams talking about they want to be together in a team. I just want to add, the way we have it now with random teams is because it was like really simple to do that. But of course, when working more on the squadding system, we of course want to have, so if you squad together, you will be in the same team. So it's coming. It's just a bit more work than just having random teams, but yeah, it's definitely something we will do, of course.
That is awesome. So yeah, that's cool to see someone from the background that doesn't show up a lot to learn more about what he's doing and all of that. So again, guys, that was awesome. Thank you so much, guys. If you're interested in Setback, it's currently available on Steam. Just do a request for play testing, and Jordan will go ahead and accept you in, and just holler at me if you want to play a game or two, and definitely we'll have some fun. So again, thank you very much, guys, and see you on next week, as we'll be announcing another interview with someone else. So keep a lookout.
Nice.
All right, have a good one, guys, and see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.